Why aren't my slides going to advance? Hmm, I don't know. Oh, there they go. Okay, so let's talk about why the Bat Project. As you probably already know, Texas is home to at least 30 species of bats, and we still have a lot to learn about where they are and what they do. So, Texas Nature Trackers developed a statewide bat acoustic monitoring program, and they decided to use Master Naturalist to collect the data for this project. So, the very first project started officially on Monday, April 29th, 2024, with 37 Master Naturalist chapters participating. And that year, we collected nearly 8 terabytes of acoustic data. Now, that was 2024. We collected even more data last year, but we don't have a total yet. So I can't give you that number. This project is designed to be a 5-year survey project. And this year, 2026, will be our 3rd year. So the project will continue through 2028. We are following the protocols of the North American Bat Monitoring Program. This is a program that has put together um, all of the important information that we need so that the data we collect is of the highest quality and will be beneficial to researchers. So we're going to learn some things about that, how that works tonight. So in our chapter area, we have 9 species of bats, or we should have these 9 species of bats. Um, our chapter area, for those of you who are not sure, is Collin and Hunt counties. And here's a list of all our bats. But I thought tonight that you would actually like to meet these bats in person. So I have put together a little picture show for you. So we're going to start out tonight with these two. The Brazilian free-tailed bat is on the left. These bats are found throughout America. They're highly social. They roost in large colonies in caves, bridges, attics, buildings. And you may have seen these bats if you've ever been to Bracken Cave in San Antonio. They have the largest known natural roost of these bats. In the summertime, they have 15 to 20 million bats in Bracken Cave, and every night they go out to dinner, which is quite a sight. There is also a colony of these bats under Congress Bridge in Austin. This is the largest urban colony with 1,500,000 bats hanging out under there from March to October. Now, these bats have a foraging strategy that's a little different than most of the other bats we're going to talk about tonight. Their strategy is to fly as fast as they can for as long as they can, capturing moths, flies, and beetles as they go. Um, the bat excels at consuming large numbers of agricultural pests, which makes them very, very popular with farmers. So that's our Brazilian free-tailed bat. Next is the eastern red bat. This is North America's most abundant tree bat. They have this beautiful orange-red fur, as you can see. And I chose this photo because it gives you an idea of the size of this bat and most of our bats. They're tiny. They're mouse size. So just keep that in mind. Almost all of them are are tiny. You can hold them in the palm of your hand. Eastern red bats are solitary roosters. They don't have any friends. They don't stay in a cave. They roost in the foliage of deciduous and evergreen trees, and they feed on night-flying insects in open areas. They do migrate in the fall if they live in colder areas. All right, next up, this is the evening bat and the hoary bat. The evening bat, who looks so dapper, don't you think? He or she is a forest bat. And they are called the evening bat because they're one of the first bats to be seen in the evening. They roost in hollow trees, under loose bark, in buildings and attics. They forage along forest edges and clearings and also above waterways. They also feed on beetles and moths and probably any other nocturnal insect they can catch. The northern populations are migratory. So if there's any here, which our survey shows there may be, they probably go south for the winter. And then this next cute little guy is called the hoary bat. He or she is found in throughout Texas. Get the name hoary because of the frosty or silver fur, which is very cute if you ask me. This one usually roosts alone in foliage of mature tall trees that are near clearings or meadows. And when they forage, they like to fly up over the tree canopy, and they are always looking for a good dragonfly or or two. They migrate to southern coastal habitats in the winter. All right. Next, we have the Seminole bat and the silver-haired bat. Seminole bats are most common in the Gulf states from Texas to Florida, and they're named for the indigenous Seminole people because they were first found in where those peoples lived. They roost alone. They're another solitary rooster, and they stay in open foliage of tall pines or clumps of Spanish moss if they can find it. They forage above the treetops and also over clearings or water, and they like flies, beetles, and leafhoppers. They also will do some migrating to warmer areas in the wintertime. The silver-haired bat is found throughout North America. They roost in tree cavities, under loose bark, or in hollows of dead or dying trees. They forage in forested areas close to streams, ponds, and other water bodies. They like to feed on moths, flies, beetles, and mosquitoes, thank goodness. And they are also a migratory species. All right. These next two, we did not have a very good showing in the last 2-year surveys of these particular species, but we did have some. So I wanted to show you what they look like. The southeastern myotis is native to the southeastern US. These bats roost together in dense clusters, and they like to live in hollow trees that's adjacent to water bodies such as swamps. We don't have a lot of swamps in our two counties, so that may be why we don't have too many Myotis bats. They forage by flying over low water, and because they like to forage over water, they like to feed on midges, mosquitoes, and of course, moths and beetles. They hibernate in caves during the winter. We don't have a lot of caves in our two counties either. They can remain partially active in southern locations during the wintertime. The tricolored bat is widely distributed in eastern and central US, in southern Canada, and in Mexico. They have a very distinctive fur. Each hair has three color bands, so it gives them a pretty cool look. They roost in forest vegetation, especially in canopy of live or dead deciduous hardwood trees. And they'll also make a home in man-made structures if need be. They also forage on a variety of insects. They're the only bat of our group of nine that eat more than once per evening. They go out for the first feeding after sunset, and then at midnight, they go out for their midnight snack, of course. They remain in the same general area year-round in regions with milder winters. And like I said, we had a few calls that we thought were one of these two bats. And our last bat is the big brown bat. This is the only flying picture I have, and I really liked it because it shows what it takes to catch food. So big brown bats range throughout the Americas. They roost in tree cavities, in under loose bark, and also like man-made structures. They forage in deciduous forests, farmlands, and suburban and urban areas. So they feed on a wide range of different insects, but they have a preference for beetles. They're tolerant of winter conditions. They do hibernate in caves or buildings or other sheltered sites. So that's our 9 Texas or North Texas bats that there's evidence that have or should be here. So now that you've met them all, I want to talk about the results of our acoustic surveys that we've completed over the next 2 years, or last 2 years, actually. Our BAT project participation in 2024, that was the first year of the project. We had one acoustic detector. There were 9 survey sites because our survey period is 9 weeks old. 9 weeks old, yeah. Um, we, with one acoustic detector, our detector actually malfunctioned and we had to send it in for repair. So we missed a couple of survey weeks, but we managed to get 7 sites surveyed, which include Clymer Meadow, 2 sites there, the Raptor Center, Irwin Park, Connemara Meadow Preserve, and 2 private residential properties. So our findings were the most present bat was the eastern red bat. We had 6 sites with an 80 to 90% likelihood of presence. So, what does that mean exactly? Why are the survey findings expressed as likelihood of presence instead of how many and what kind of bats were at the site? The simple answer is we only have recorded bat calls. We did not see the bats or take photos of the bats or make videos of the bats. We did not capture any bats and hold them in our hand. The only thing we could do to determine what species we had recorded was to use some software. So here's a chart, And there's a lot of words on this slide, and I'm sorry for that, but it's kind of interesting. It describes the data that's required to come up with these confidence levels. And how we got here was we use a software program that's made by the same manufacturer as our acoustic detectors. That software program processes the recorded bat calls, and then the program auto-identifies the specific species. But that's not enough because next we complete a manual review by matching our recorded calls with a library of calls to identify the species. Then we take both the auto-identified species as well as the manual identified species, and the combination of those two findings provides a match ratio, which tells us the likelihood that our recording is a specific species. So as you're looking at this list, obviously, we want all highly likely. We want to be 100% sure that the bat we heard is the bat that we said it was. However, I am sorry to tell you that we didn't have any highly likely results, but we did have a lot of likelies, an 80 to 90% confidence level. So that's pretty good. And we want to be conservative, especially as we're learning how to use this software. The more we learn, the more we use it, the better we're going to get on our manual vetting. So now that you know this, let's look at our survey results from 2005. This colorful map shows you all the locations of our surveys for 2005, 18 sites during a 9-week sample period. We had a few detector problems, but they were related to batteries, and we were able to just change the batteries every week, and we were getting readings. So all of our sites detected bats. And the next two slides are going to show you the results of that data. So this is 8 of our locations. And you have across the top, you've got all the different bats, except for the cave myotis. I didn't put that on the list because I couldn't fit it all in and be able to see it. And I think we only had a possible sighting, so I didn't add that one to the list. But this one identifies each location and which bat species were hopefully likely at, at that location. So we surveyed 10 residential sites and 8 other sites, including the Heard Museum and Wildlife Sanctuary, the Raptor Center, Connemara, Irwin Park, and several Nature Conservancy sites. This is the second page with another list of 8 locations and the bats that were found there. You can see the first thing that popped out at me was the most common bat species in our chapter area is the eastern red bat. Almost every site that we surveyed were likely for eastern red bats. I think there was a couple of possibles on the other sheet. Now, I know you may want to look at this and see who had what, but if we do that, we won't have time to finish this presentation. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. If you want to look at this chart later, I can send you a PDF of this slideshow and you can have it forever. All right. So right now, I want to talk about what it takes to to put this bat project into motion in this chapter, in all chapters. What we want to do, we need, it takes more than one person, for one thing, a lot more than one person. And it takes people that have different roles and different jobs in order to be successful and get the data that we need to learn what we need to learn about bats. So there's three different roles. There's the chapter coordinator, which I'm doing at the moment. And then there's chapter survey monitors, which we'll talk about, and chapter data analyst. Now, each chapter has a chapter coordinator. And because I've been on some trainings with other chapters that have bat projects, some chapters have two or even three chapter coordinators, and they divide up the work because it is quite a bit. Um, I One of the things I do is lead the project within the chapter. I'm the primary contact with the Texas, what is it? Nature Trackers, TNT, Texas Nature Tract, I can't even say it. Texas Nature Tracker staff, which lead this project for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. I also provide training to BAT members, BAT team members, and do trainings like this. And I work with landowners to find survey sites that we can go out and install detectors at. And I assist the survey monitors and data analysts as needed. So now would be a good time, I think, to talk about how we do find sites to survey. We are back to our map again. This is the map of Collin and Hunt counties showing the locations that we surveyed, the 18 locations that we surveyed in 2025. This map is a map that was created by NABAT, the North American Bat Monitoring Project. And we use this for all of our surveys. This is how we determine where the best place to survey. Now, this is like a tiny square from a continental map of 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer grid cells, where each grid cell has been assigned a sampling priority. The red cells have the highest sampling priority. Now, this doesn't mean that there are less bats in any of the other colored cells. What it does mean is that priority grid cells were selected based on the probabilistic randomized ordering. Survey areas were ranked using a random process guided by statistics or an algorithm. The higher priority areas are chosen first in a way that lets data from these sites represent both sampled and unsampled areas, making the results scientifically reliable. It's impractical to sample every single grid cell in North America or even in Texas. Surveying in the red cells gets us more results for our time and effort. So you can see if you take the time to count up all the different cells with blue marks in them, you'll see that we surveyed in 16 cells in 2025, and quite a few of them were not red. So we weren't being as smart as we could be as far as how much data we can obtain. So our goal for 2026 is to do surveying in more red high priority cells. That doesn't mean that some of these other cells won't continue to be monitored, but we're definitely going to try to increase our monitoring in the red cells. So now that you're experts at this probabilistic random ordering, let's talk about the role of survey monitors. So we have the general sites located. Ideally, they're in red cells. So then you show up at a site and you have to decide where on that site is the best habitat for the placement of the detector. And that is a job for our chapter survey monitors. They also work with landowners because they're going on property, and landowners are very interested in helping out and understanding the process, which is fantastic. They also, survey monitors, become experts on operating the detector that they're using, and they learn how to program, install, and retrieve the detector each week. And last but not least, the most important part actually is when we have the recorded bat calls, we take the SD card out of the detector unit and we download that information and upload it to a Google Doc or a Google file for our data analysis to work on. So that's the job of the survey monitors. And I want to take some time now to talk a little bit about the acoustic detectors that we use, as well as how to find the perfect installation spot on the landscape, and what the timeline is for our survey this year and for the past 2 years. It's always nearly the same. So here we have our detector equipment. On the left is the song meter mini bat. And you can see how small it is. It's a little square, a little plastic box. It's strapped on there with, it's not zip ties, it's bungee cords. This unit has the microphone that records and recorder or the microphone that sends the data to the SD card is inside the unit. And there is a small little round disc on the outside where the sound comes into the unit. This unit is battery operated and it's programmed from an app on the cell phone. So you don't open the unit to program it, you do it from your cell phone. The SM4 bat on the right, this one is installed at Irwin Lake. So you can see it's by a water body, which bats like. The microphone on this unit is separate. And you can see that it is installed all the way at the top of the pole. Actually, you can't see it because it's turned around because it's facing the water where we anticipate the bats will be. But the cord connects it to the unit. This unit's also battery operated. It's a little bit bigger because you program the unit from the inside. You open it up and there's a screen that you use to do that. So if you choose to be a survey monitor, you'll be trained on how to operate one or both of these detectors. But before we talk about that, let's learn about the best places to install the uh, the detectors. You can see both of them here. One's by water, one's by a line of trees in an open meadow. So those are good places. Let's learn about why that is. It's very important to know where to put these detectors. Bad placement can result in low quality recordings or even recordings that just have such bad information that you can't identify the bat calls of the species that you're trying to identify. So there are certain habitat features that are attractive to bats. There's three main ones. There's water, there's commuting corridors, and there's foraging sites. This little graphic um, kind of gives you an idea of what that might look like on the landscape. So water is shown down here in the left bottom quadrant. There's a little pond there, and ideally you put your detector about 50 meters from the water, and that would be good to catch the bats that are drinking and feeding at water. Next, you have a commuting corridor. And a lot of times they'll use man-made things. Now, this isn't going to be a highway or a paved road, but it might be a dirt road. It might be a hiking trail. It might be an animal trail that animals use that's open above so that the bats could fly along that corridor to get to the different areas where they feed and get a drink of water. This top one on the right is a detector that's shown by a stream. And this one is not only is it by a water source, but it's also got some trees behind it and it's in an open clearing. So there's three of the things that bats really like when foraging, or our bats here in this area really like. And then last, on the left at the top, is this depicts a clearing, but it is surrounded by trees. And it even is kind of provides a corridor for the bats to fly through. So these are water sources as well as good foraging sites, which makes them good sites to put your detector. Now, if you choose a site that's not good, you're going to get clutter. Clutter is any noise that's recorded that interferes with the clear calls. So it makes for a low quality recording and really impacts your ability to identify your bat species. So it's important to know the four areas to avoid. One of them is an area with thick forest, dense vegetation, or even an open area that has high vegetation. The reason for this is if the wind blows, which it does blow in Texas, that noise of the leaves can be recorded and get in the way of understanding of the software or you understanding the bat calls that you've recorded. Another problem can be other bats. Just think about if there was a little cave in this forest and you put your detector right at the mouth of it and you caught hundreds or maybe thousands of bats coming out of it to feed, you're going to get a lot of noise, but you're not going to be able to make heads nor tails of what kind of bats there are. You may know because they usually are the same kind that roost together, but scientifically, you're not going to get any data. Next on the list of no-nos is hard surfaces that can echo. And that can be actually be still water. Water can be a hard surface if your detector is too close to the water. As can pavement, bridges, and buildings. All of those hard surfaces can cause echoed bat calls, and it just muddles everything, and you don't know what kind of species you have. And last but not least is background noise. You obviously do not want to put a detector in somebody's front yard in front of a busy street. Or you don't want to put your detector, if this was a rushing river with rapids, that's not a good place to put your detector. The other thing that can impact bat calls is insects, specifically cicadas can be a real problem if they're active when you're trying to record bats. So, it's important to know all this stuff. And right now, you're going to remember it for a little while, but then you'll forget, just like I did. And it seemed like I'd never remember it all, and I'd go out and I'd be confused. But it does not take long to figure this out once you go out into the landscape and put a few detectors in. You get to know the rules and you're going to be good at it because it's important to get great, clear bat calls. All right, so let's talk about the surveying timeline for how we get those calls. Our survey season is 9 weeks long, and it goes from May 11th to the week of July 6th. We we're going to mount a detector, and that's what's shown here. And by the way, it's easier to mount a detector and program it and do all the things you have to do if you have a team member with you. So be sure and take a friend. One of the things, besides installing the connector and getting it programmed, we have to record site information. We want to describe the landscape, what's around, what the weather is, the time, is it cloudy? There's all kinds of things that we need to record that impact the data that we're getting. So for the past 2 years, we've had data sheets that we've actually had to write on out in the field. If you're tromping through the prairie and you're carrying these poles and the equipment, and then you've got to remember a pen, and you got to be able to find your pen and get the paper out and write the stuff down. It's nuts. So this year, I'm really excited that we are going to be using an app that's going to be on our cell phones called Survey 123. And it is meant for outdoor surveys, just like we're doing. So that's going to be exciting, and it's going to make it a lot easier for us to collect the correct information in a usable format that where what if we lose the paper that we wrote everything down on? I'm sure it's happened before. So I'm excited about that. Finally, the monitoring period, we actually record bats for 4 consecutive nights. So the protocol is to install the detector on a Monday, anytime before sunset, and we program it to begin recording on that Monday, 30 minutes before sunset, and to end that recording on the next consecutive day, which doesn't isn't necessarily Friday, it's just the next day, 30 minutes after sunrise. So the recorder turns off and on as the night comes and the morning comes. And on Friday, we show up in the morning or the afternoon or any time before sunset and turn off the detector, and we have collected our 4 consecutive nights of bat calls. So that's how that works. And it's a little more complicated than that. There's a few more buttons you have to push, but not many. And if I can learn how to do it, anybody can. So um, yeah, honestly. All right, let's move on and talk about our chapter data analyst. If you are going to do this job, take on this role, it means that your volunteer time on this project is going to be spent on your computer. You're not going to be outside with your friend putting a detector up. You're going to be on your computer. You're going to first be learning to use a software called Kaleidoscope Pro that's made by Wildlife Acoustics, which is the same company that makes our acoustic monitors. They have training classes, so you're going to be doing that. They have recorded ones and they have live ones. In addition, you're going to be reviewing our standard operating procedures that has instructions to process and review data as far as the software is concerned. And you're going to use the results when you finally get the results to prepare reports for landowners. And we have a template for that, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to input the information about each site. And finally, you're going to send the analyzed data to Texas Nature Trackers. And there is a protocol for doing that. You will learn how to do that. And once they look at our data, they will be sending it all to NABAT for there to be housed in their data system and be available to bat researchers all over the world. So that's exciting. Before we stop talking about Kaleidoscope Pro, um, I just want to tie up a loose end by letting you know that when we talked about the likelihood of the species presence and the match ratio way back on slide 11, that's what you're going to be doing as a data analysis. You're going to be coming up with these likelihoods. And it's going to be new. It's going to be slow going, like any learning process is when you're trying to figure out something new. But I guarantee with time and practice, it becomes easier. So learning to use Kaleidoscope Pro is no exception. And we have people to teach you. We have resources for you to learn and practice. So that's the exciting part. All right, well, next, it's time for my big pitch. So my question for you tonight is, do you want to be on the 2026 BAT team? There's going to be a lot to learn, but we have a lot of resources. So don't be scared, be brave. I have a couple of the resources here on this slide. I've already talked about our standard operating procedures. This describes the every step of implementing this program in the chapter from beginning to end. It is really handy. It's really a valuable document. It has also a lot of links to online resources, including links to NABAT, which has wonderful training videos, as does Wildlife Acoustics. Right this minute, there is a recorded training from March 13th that was done by our TNT BAT wildlife biologist. And that is available right now for you to look at. We have 3 future trainings that are online and scheduled. The first one is on April 7th. That's a Tuesday. It's at 7 p.m. And it's going to be a training by me for survey monitors. And hopefully, I will have a few other of our people that have done that with me. So you don't have to listen to me drone on for the entire training. On April 17th at 3 p.m., that's a Friday, the TNT wildlife biologist is going to reprise her Bat Project participants training, but it'll be expanded with more information from what was given on the March 13th training. So if it's possible to attend both or to listen to both, I highly recommend it. And especially the April 17th training because there's going to be new and updated information. So there's still a few loose ends that she's trying to tie up that are holding up some of what we're doing. Um, the final training or that's scheduled right now, is on May 15th, and this is a special data analysis training. So that's an important one. I plan to do that. I don't know that much about the software, but I want to learn. So um, I'll be right there with you. All right. So next on the list here is if you're saying to yourself right now, put me on the bat team, here's what you need to do. You need to send me an email. And I am developing a bat project mailing list. My email is lindan@bptmn.org. I'll put you on my list and I will send you all kinds of stuff. Eventually, you will get a link to the recording of this presentation. Right away, I can send you a PDF copy of this presentation so you can review it and have it to look at. I have some Texas Nature Trackers documents that aren't available online yet that I'll be able to send you. And I will just generally keep you informed about any new information or resources or training as we go forward here. And I don't want to scare you or anything, but we only have 6 weeks until we deploy our first detectors on Monday, May 11th. We have time, but we have to get our training done. So we have people ready and willing to go out in the field or to jump on the computer. All right. So now for the big finish here. If you're wondering why you should get involved, if you still haven't figured out why you should get involved, I can tell you a couple of important things. Number one, you'll learn a lot of new stuff, which is always exciting. At least I think so. You'll meet some fantastic people. You'll be a member of an awesome team. And best of all, you'll help grow our understanding of Texas bats and protect these remarkable flying mammals. So I really hope that some of you on this call tonight will join the bat team. And I thank you for participating tonight. And if you have any questions, I think there's still some time.
So you can ask your question in chat, or if you would like, you can unmute yourself and ask it live.
I can see the chat here, but let's see. Where am I?
Linda,
Okay. Does somebody have a question that they want to ask?
this is Alex. Can you
Hi,
hear?
Alex.
Yeah, I put a note into the chat about I've got a pretty good friend that lives just north of Greenville, which is in one of those red boxes. And would you all be interested in me talking to them about possibly putting a bat monitor there?
Okay, good. I'm looking for a few more people in Farmersville because they have a lot of red squares. And Alex, you're not right in a red square, but you're close to one. But I am looking for somebody out in that area, hopefully that's in the right area. So if you want to
Well,
give me his address, I can figure out where he's at.
okay, well, that's in Greenville. I may be able to contact some people in Farmersville as well. I'll try and do that and give you some information on who
Okay.
you're interested in.
Okay.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm looking, I can show you the map. Maybe that would help. Well, you can kind of see it, but the way I have it set up, you can't tell exactly where things are.
If you could
But I
send
can help you with that.
if you can send me a more zoomed in version or more detailed,
Okay. Okay. All right. I can do that.
okay. All righty. You got my email address, I believe.
All
Linda,
right.
Morgan
I see it.
in the chat says that they're between Princeton and Farmersville. If people on the call have an idea of where they could place a monitor, would you prefer them to email you and just give you some more information so they
Yes.
start a direct
Yes.
conversation? Okay.
Right now, if you're not in a red cell, I probably won't do it because Texas Nature Trackers is really encouraging us to move. They actually initially they wanted us to move all of our sites to red cells, but um, I it took me a long time to get all 18 sites together, and I don't think I can let some of them go. So, but I am looking for people in red squares. And the only way you're going to know if you're in a red square is if you send me your address. And then I can tell you.
If someone already knows the job that they want to sign up for, they should also just email that directly to you.
Yes, yes. I see a question here. Why does the survey not last for an entire week since weekends might have different conditions? The protocol from NABAT is 4 nights, and their protocol is to do it Monday through Thursday. We have done, we've changed it and moved it from Monday to Saturday or Friday because I couldn't pick up the monitor, so I had extra time. I mean, it doesn't matter, um, but I doubt the conditions would be different unless the weather's different. And the weather does impact our ability to get good calls, especially if we have a really hard rain.
Linda, we have a couple of questions about the time commitment for each role. Can you give us
Yes,
an idea, just an estimate?
the time commitment is pretty substantial. Initially because you have to learn how to do it. Um, as far as I will have a training for the people that want to wrangle the monitors and set them up. Once you take that training, then we'll have a hands-on training with somebody that knows how to operate the monitor. And we also have step-by-step directions that go with both of our detectors. So you can learn with somebody to begin with, and then you can practice on your own with the directions. And the first time that you go out as a new um, survey monitor, you're going to be going with somebody else. And like I mentioned, ideally, it's easier to have two people go. So that's one thing. That's several hours. It depends how fast you catch on. Excuse me, and how comfortable you feel with the training. Then we have two monitors, And both of them are going to be deployed every week for 9 weeks. And that involves some time. As you know, by looking at the map, I need to get a drink of water. Hold on a minute. Okay. As you know, looking at the map, these sites are all over the place. It can, driving to a site, um, and driving back is going to be the bulk of the time. Once the setting up the detector it's a 15 or 20-minute proposition. But you've got to drive to the site. Sometimes you have to hike out to where you're going to put them. We try to get locations that are easy to access. And but sometimes the landowner has to guide you out to where you need to be, where the best place is. So uh, putting up the monitor initially. I mean, if you drive out to Celeste, um, you're talking at least an hour to drive out there and an hour to come back, plus probably an hour, a half hour at the site. And if you deploy a monitor every week for 9 weeks, that's quite a bit of time. Now, it's not just deploying the monitor, it's returning to that site and retrieving turning the monitor off and retrieving it and bringing it back. And then, if you're not going to be the monitor that's going to be using that monitor and deploying it for the next Monday, you've got to get it to somebody else. So, it's time consuming. Ideally, nobody would have to do a deployment every week. We would have enough people interested in doing this so that we could get a more reasonable schedule, maybe every other week or every 2 or 3 weeks, you would go out and do it. But it just depends on how many people volunteer, basically. I had to fill in a lot last year. Stephanie Gonzalez really helped me out. She and I and Kathy Batad were on. We had two teams because we have two monitors. So it was myself and two other people basically that deployed monitors for 9 weeks. And then for the second team, um, Brittany Hamilton was the lead on that. And she had a couple of people. She was able to train them to be able to deploy the monitors when she couldn't. But if nobody else could do it, just like me, the buck stops with her and with me, and we had to do it. So we are definitely looking for some more people that are interested in doing this, just to spread the fun around.
Kathy,
As
I'm sorry,
as
Linda, there's
far
a
as
question.
let
Oh, sorry, there's a
I was
question.
going to just
Okay, go ahead.
mention the data analysis. That takes a lot of time, but it's not on a schedule, except that you do initially have to get up to speed on that because they do not want us to wait till the end of the 9 weeks to start processing our information. Ideally, they want it processed as soon as it comes in. So you're going to be working during that 9 weeks. And again, the more data analysts we have, the less work for all of you.
If anyone has another question, if you just want to unmute and ask your question, there's probably 5 other people that want to ask the same question. They just are too shy. So go ahead.
It's a great project and it's fun. It sounds a little bit overwhelming. I know I have felt overwhelmed on numerous occasions. And yes, we do. We only have 2 monitors because that's all they had to give us. If we had more and more people, we'd do more. But I think 2 and 18 sites in 9 weeks is I wouldn't want to try with the people that are interested in volunteering and able to help. I don't think we could do more than that. So, and it's a lot, but
Just
it's fun.
curious,
And hmm,
just curious, what happens if the weather's bad when you're monitoring?
um, you, I have put Brittany and I put a monitor up in the pouring rain out in Greenville. Oh my gosh, we got so wet. We just put it up. Um, you try to you unless it's not safe, you do what you have to do and you wear your rain jacket. If it's not, if there's lightning and thunder and you don't do it, then you push it back to Tuesday and you go through Saturday. As long as you have 4 consecutive nights, then that's going to meet the requirements of NA BAT for the minimum time to record calls. Oh, hi, Valerie. I see you. Good. I'm glad you're going to be on the deployment team again. Yes, thank you very much.
Someone
Anybody
had
else have a
asked if you
question?
can do both roles, or do you prefer people to just stick with one role or the other?
I think it would be, unless you've got a lot of time on your hands, I'm not sure you could do both and learn, and especially your first year to come up to speed on both. I'd love it if people knew how to do both. At some point, I've been doing this for 2 years and I still haven't been able to have time to learn the software part of it. So I would say at this point, you should concentrate on one or the other. Oh, Kathy, yay. I'm glad you're gonna be on the deployment team again. The gang's back together. So if you're interested or you have more questions or you want to think about it or whatever, I would appreciate it if you'd send me an email and I can put you on the list. You can attend, you can get some more information, some more of the training things. Maybe you can attend another training with somebody else. And just the more that you listen up to what it's all about, the more you're going to learn and the more you're going to know if this is something that you want to do or want to try. So don't say no yet if you're on the fence.
Okay, Linda. Well, thank you so much for having this call today and sharing this with the chapter. We appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I'm sure a lot of people will be signing up to help. So it's a worthwhile project. Thank you so much.
It
If
is.
anyone
It
has any
is.
other questions, or you can email Linda, and she, I'm sure, will be happy to bring you into the bat fold, into the bat cave.
That's right.
Thanks, Linda. Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Good evening.